Delhi's current murk is being used against the Aam Admi Party, which is accused of being both ineffectual in containing it in the city, and encouraging it by aiding farmers burn stubble in the fields of Punjab. Prince Charles was probably not surprised to encounter fog on his recent visit to Delhi. The capital's miasma is global news, with regular reports every year on the terrible air pollution. An international correspondent wrote a story a few years back that said families severely risked the health of their children by raising them there. A clip this week of a car pileup on the Yamuna Expressway went viral. It was different when his father visited in 1952. The first thing the Duke of Edinburgh is reported to have said on landing at Palam Airport was that fog was the last thing he had expected to see in Delhi, reported the Times of India toy. Severe fog was what Prince Philip had just left around London, 88 vehicles tangled in 6 mass pileups. At least 2 persons were killed, and 11 injured, reported toy. London was known for its fogs. For more than a century, the city had suffered from severe, blanketing smogs, with one of the worst taking place in 1952. 4,000 people were said to have died from accidents and respiratory problems linked to the fog, and it has persisted in memory enough for the head of AIIMS to compare Delhi's current situation with London then. But in 1952, alongside news of that year's London fog, Toy reported a similar one in Delhi. The night air mail service, scheduled to leave Palam at midnight, did not leave till noon. The Bombay-Calcutta services were delayed by nearly 3 hours. That year marked a kind of passage of pollution. London would still occasionally have bad fogs, but the worst was over. For Delhi it was just starting. London's fogs were so well known they became a brand. When the London Fog Clothing Company started in 1923 in the USA, it was originally called London Town, but changed their name when they realized that the fogs were famous and would suit their rainwear better. London Fog is both a cocktail, an appropriately grey-colored combination of gin and Pernod, and a non-alcoholic drink made with Earl Grey tea, milk and vanilla syrup. Christine L. Corden has written a history of them titled London Fog: The Biography, and it is well worth reading for the parallels with Delhi today. In both places, the fog seemed to be not just a geographic phenomenon, caused by the particular situation of both places, and a socio-economic one, the result of rapid industrialization, but in some way a metaphoric issue. Both cities were capitals of their countries and empire, in London's case, places of immense power and prestige, yet helpless in the face of this repeated phenomenon. Other problems like disease and slums could be ignored or guarded against, but fog affected everyone. They mocked the modernity that both cities claimed to embody and undermined the political order that they existed to enforce. Corden's book traces a long history of violence linked to London's fogs: thieves escaping, the Jack the Ripper murders, political scheming and anarchists conspiring, all under cover of the murk. In the 1930s, Toy published a regular letter from London which often started off describing the physical fog, and then linking it to political chaos. The fog seems general wherever we turn. It embraces all human affairs as well as the more political scene, wrote the unnamed correspondent in December 1930. As it happens, the murky political situation being described was the first round-table conference, where some of the issues raised, like Dr. Ambedkar's demand for separate electorates for untouchables, and the consequences from them, continue to cloud Indian politics. Delhi's current murk is being used against the Aam Admi Party, which is accused of being both ineffectual in containing it in the city, and encouraging it by aiding farmers burn stubble in the fields of Punjab. But in general, it rebounds on all leading politicians who seem incapable of organizing to control the very air they breathe. One way London's authorities tried to deflect the fog problem was with technological fixes. There was never any shortage of inventors claiming surefire solutions, or policymakers convinced that a single smart idea could get rid of fogs. In 1930, Toy reported experiments with the Fagone, a device that emitted hot air in front of vehicles, apparently clearing a path through the fog. Others suggested devices encircling London to pump air that would blow the murk away. None of these ever worked, but fog frustrations did help drive consumers away from clearly polluting coal towards gas and electricity that, in the long run, did help solve the problem. In Delhi, various stopgap measures are being tried, like plans to sprinkle water. No short-term, single-issue solution is likely to work, but some of the measures taken, like limiting diesel and enforcing catalytic converters, will, in time, help with the problem. In the short term though, with fog seemingly inevitable and politicians helpless, Londoners learn to live with, even celebrate, their fogs. Corden traces the considerable London literature set in fogs, like the Sherlock Holmes stories and the novels of Charles Dickens. The latter's bleak house, in particular, starts with an extended invocation of fog that sets the stage for his story of clogged-up court cases. Fog everywhere. Fog up the river, where it flows among green eights and meadows. Fog down the river, where it rolls defiled among the tears of shipping and the waterside pollutions of a great and dirty city. In 1907, Toy, which sometimes seemed more interested in London fog than the weather in Bombay, carried a paean to the partially obscured city. That sounds only semi-satirical. This is the time when London becomes artistically bearable. On such a day, London is anything you choose to make it. The imagination has free play. The visible dead are few and blurred. Surely some in Delhi soon will be planning a fog festival, or writing stories set in the fog, or coming up with art inspired by it, as, in fact, many notable London artists like James Whistler were. In time, London's fogs did fade. Clear air policies were finally implemented, pollutants like coal largely abandoned, but above all, the nature of the city changed in ways that dispelled the fog. A more relevant example for Delhi is actually Mumbai, where the air quality, while hardly good, was far worse in the 1960-70s. This was some feat given how the city's seaside location makes it far less prone to fogs, but its nostalgists for the days of mills and other manufacturing often forget these were fiercely polluting. What worked in Mumbai was the one force that always drives the city, the drive for real estate, which made the land the mills was on far more valuable for real estate and retail, both far less polluting. As Delhi spreads, eating up farmland and driving out factories, some of this will happen, especially when allied with clean technology. As some politicians are now acknowledging, there is also a strong need for regionally coordinated development, not just policy making for Delhi in isolation. In the end, with London, fog got up the noses, and in the lungs, of politicians and citizens to the extent that they were forced to act, directly and indirectly, to end it. If this happens with Delhi too, then all the current choking might actually end up being the channel to change.